Left my 2 coworkers behind to catch my flight. Now their director is calling a meeting to discuss my actions. My company decided it would be a great idea to send 2 junior-level employees to an industry event. Supposedly it would be a good experience for them. They weren't on my team, didn't report to me, and honestly, we barely crossed paths at work. One was a specialist, 25 years old, this being her first job out of college and, apparently, her first time on a plane. The other was a summer intern, 21 years old, just entering her senior year. From the day the invitations went out, they were buzzing with excitement, endless Teams chats asking me what to wear, what to pack, and what to expect at an official company trip like this. Our trip was a surgical strike, fly in Thursday morning, leave Friday evening. I tried to share the basics, details on the event itself, the country western themed awards reception that first night, my speaking slot on a Friday morning panel, the general rundown on who would be there and what to expect. I knew they were green, so I wanted to help. And wow, I had no idea what I was in for. It started at the airport. The specialist nearly missed our flight because she didn't realize she needed a real ID or what one even was, then got tripped up at security for not knowing about basic flying rules, liquid restrictions, screening, all of it. I watched her get more and more upset as her expensive skincare was trashed because it was over 3 ounces. Meanwhile, the intern was absolutely pumped for her first business trip, but I could sense a wild energy brewing. Thursday night's event was country western themed, think business casual with a touch of fringe and denim, so most people leaned toward boots with work blazers or statement jewelry on plain dresses. The intern, however, arrived in a bandana tube top, a micro skirt, high cowboy boots, and a cowboy hat. I pulled her aside discreetly, gave her the chance to regroup and change, reminding her this was still a work event. She just grinned and told me she thought she looked cute and on theme. After the awards, I walked over and invited both to join me and a few industry connections downstairs at the hotel bar, a golden networking opportunity for anyone new to the field. They turned me down flat, determined to check out Broadway instead. When I made a face, hoping to nudge them toward taking advantage of their shot, they just laughed and tossed me a "come on mom" joke. I told them to be safe, reminded them of the panel session's time and place, and let it rest. I texted them around 11 p.m., just to make sure they made it back safely. No response. I went to bed. Next morning, another text, offering to grab coffee before sessions kicked off. Still nothing. I never saw them at any conference sessions, and I honestly have no clue if they made it to my panel. Eventually, I spotted them in the hotel lobby, both of them looking spectacularly hungover. After the event wrapped, we had a quick 2-hour window before our flight. I asked them if they wanted to join lunch with our agency partners, again stressing how good this opportunity would be. They declined, saying they wanted to go to the Country Music Hall of Fame instead. Same routine, they looked at me like I was the fun police, made a face about me being no fun while I tried, and failed, to convince them otherwise. I told them clearly, I'm leaving for the airport at 4 p.m., meet me in the lobby so we can share a lift. At 3:45, I texted, lift in 15. No response. Lift arrived, I texted, I'm leaving. No response. Got to the airport, security's long, neither has TSA pre-check. I texted, security's packed. Still nothing. I waited until I got to the gate, flight is boarding, please let me know you're alive. Silence. Sitting in my seat, about to take off, final call, doors are about to close. Still, nothing. The doors shut. I put my phone in airplane mode and took off. A couple of hours later, my phone blows up with notifications. Turns out, the specialist and the intern missed the flight and were stranded in Nashville, now panicked and unsure of what to do. Message after message, they had no idea how to rebook, who to ask for help, nothing. Even worse, there's a furious voicemail from the specialist's mom accusing me of abandoning her daughter in Nashville, saying she'd never flown before and was having a panic attack, and needed medical attention because she could be human trafficked. I immediately called both of them back, no answer. I texted to see if they'd been able to rebook, again, nothing. I tried to help by forwarding them our business travel after hours contact and sent them a text with that info, no response. An hour later, still nothing. I never called the mom back. Then, I get a message from their director, who started just a couple weeks before, wanting to know what's going on. I sent her a quick overview and screenshots of all my texts to the two of them, and even included the transcript of their mother's angry voicemail. She acknowledged the message and that was it. Now it's Friday night, I'm home, when suddenly a meeting invite lands for Monday morning, requested by their director, their VP, and our company's C-suite leader. My own VP is on PTO. Honestly, I feel like these are grown adults, they made their own decisions. I communicated clearly, tried to include them, pointed out every good opportunity, and gave them multiple reminders. In the end, it wasn't my responsibility to chase two adults who ditched company events and ignored all my communication. But now, I've got a Monday morning meeting with the high-ups and I'm wondering, am I in the wrong here? Update 1. The meeting is finally over, and, as it turned out, the CMO didn't even show. Instead, I found myself facing another VP, a director, and the internship coordinator from HR. The formality was almost laughable. Teams call, full camera, and, get this, recorded, like I was sitting in a friggin' deposition. As the meeting started, they asked me to recap everything from the moment we arrived. I was ready for them, my points all lined up. I stuck to facts about my own actions. I refused to speculate on anyone else's decisions. They had me share my phone screen live, so I scrolled through the text messages, timestamps and all, and played the voicemail from Specialist Mom for everyone to hear. Then came the surprise curveball. The VP asked me directly if I'd requested, suggested, or encouraged Specialist to put any expenses on her P card. That one threw me for a loop. I made it clear, it never crossed my mind that she even had a P card, and aside from the Lyft ride from the airport to the hotel, which I scheduled and paid for myself, I was never anywhere with Specialist or intern outside official conference events that would have needed anyone to pay for anything. I added, a bit pointedly, that it should be her line manager's responsibility to ensure she understood our travel and expense policies before we even left town. Next, I was asked if I'd reached out to anyone at HQ about all this while it was happening. I told them no, honestly, I absolutely intended to once I returned, but we're talking about 32 hours here. During that time, I was focused on what I was sent there to do: act as a panel member at the conference, attend presentations, make the most of FaceTime with our agency, and, not least, accept my award. I emphasized that it was reasonable for me to expect that any attendees would have their roles and expectations clarified for them by their own leadership, especially if they came from a different department than mine. If anybody had other expectations of me, I would have expected to hear about that beforehand. Nobody asked me if I thought intern or Specialist deserved to be reprimanded, and the conversation never gave me an opening to mention it. I suspect they're interviewing Specialist and intern separately. Mine was first, but I have no confirmation. After that marathon session, I called a trusted colleague and got the Friday water cooler download. Apparently, intern was deeply offended when I pulled her aside about her outfit at the event. She blasted it to Snapchat, complete with a caption, and word got back to several interns and employees. I'm burning with curiosity about what she wrote, but my coworker said everyone agreed her outfit was inappropriate for a work event. Then, there's this bonkers rumor about Specialist Mom. Allegedly, she once called the previous director, who left, and the new director I just met replaced him, to complain about Specialist's working hours. Supposedly, after Specialist got taken off a high-profile project months ago, something about being asked to work evenings and weekends to meet a deadline, her mom actually called the director to protest. I don't know if I believe it, but maybe mom stepping in is a pattern. What bolsters my confidence, though, is what happened Friday. One of my agency partners I was with that week emailed my CMO about a conversation we had after the awards ceremony on Thursday night. The email was standard agency sales chatter, but, completely by accident, it also corroborated my alibi for Thursday night. So that's where it stands. Last night, I talked myself into believing this would all end with a big apology, someone admitting I shouldn't have been put through any of this. But that didn't happen, and the whole thing still feels unresolved. I sent all my notes to my VP on Sunday, but he's on medical PTO and out of reach for now. So until I hear anything else, I'm just keeping my head down and trying not to dwell on it. Update 2. By Tuesday morning, I had my answer about whether I was in the wrong. I got pulled into a follow-up call, same director, same VP, plus someone from compliance with the kind of calm that makes your stomach drop. They opened by saying I wasn't under investigation and was being treated as a witness. Then they started walking me through what landed on their desks over the weekend. Apparently, Specialist did have a P card. It pinged the system for out-of-policy charges at 8:12 p.m. Friday, a same-day rebook with seat upgrades, extra bag fees, and a change penalty, none of it going through our travel agency. Then, 9 minutes later, a merchandise charge from a Western wear store down on Broadway. The intern doesn't have a card, but there were 3 room charges on their folio after checkout time, 2 cocktails and a late checkout fee that hotel security tacked on when they tried to hold the room past the hard cutoff without authorization. When the desk refused to extend, they left for another hotel across the street and tried to call our after-hours travel number to get it covered. The agent told them in writing to call their manager. They sent a screenshot of the email to the director and then nothing. No reply, no plan, just more P card charges and my phone lighting up after I was already airborne. Compliance also had security notes from the airline. They tried to board standby on our flight and were denied because the agent flagged them as late and visibly impaired, which, I will admit, made my blood run cold. I didn't repeat that line to anyone else. HR had a separate file. Intern filed a complaint that I humiliated her Thursday by pulling her aside about the outfit. She called it body shaming. HR asked if I wanted to add anything to my earlier statement. I said no, the facts stand. They already had screenshots of the snap she blasted out. Someone in the intern cohort forwarded it to the internship coordinator. The company logo was in the background. They didn't say how they felt about it. They didn't need to. Then came the curveball I did not see coming. The conference organizer sent an email to our CMO's assistant, which got forwarded to HR. It was a bland thank you to me by name for speaking on the panel and then a single paragraph that made everyone go quiet in the meeting. Just to close the loop, your 2 junior attendees picked up replacement badges from registration Friday morning after reporting them lost at an off-site venue. They mentioned they were meeting my name, later to connect with sponsor reps. I wasn't meeting them. I wasn't even in the exhibit hall at that time. The sponsor they named is one of our larger vendors. I called my contact there after the meeting, and he said, very carefully, that 2 young women came to their suite and used my name to get in, then left with a couple of swag bags and a promise to circle back with my team. He sounded more confused than anything. I asked him to send me the timestamps and let him know procurement might reach out. As for Specialist Mom, I wish I could say the wildest part of the story ends with the voicemail, but it does not. She showed up at our office reception Monday afternoon asking to file a report with HR, building security called HR, who politely explained that they don't meet with non-employees. She insisted her daughter had been endangered by a senior employee and asked for the head of marketing or the CMO. The receptionist did a heroic job moving her along, but not before she left a printed letter in a manila folder with my name and a list of demands, including company-provided therapy for my daughter and assurances that I be kept away. I know because facilities logged it and a copy landed in my inbox this morning with a brief note reminding me not to engage. I didn't. By mid-afternoon, the dominoes started falling. Intern's laptop access went dark during lunch. Internship coordinator asked her to bring her badge to the lobby. I didn't see the walkout, but my colleague did and texted me one word, escorted. Specialist didn't come in. Her manager emailed our broader team that Specialist is out on administrative leave while HR completes their review. Her P card is frozen. The director pinged me a few hours later, apologizing for the heat last week and thanking me for being calm and cooperative. I'm not sure if that was her idea or if someone told her to send it. The CMO finally surfaced too. He sent me a short note congratulating me on the panel and asked me to work with HR and travel to codify expectations for junior travelers, roles, requirements, and a simple pre-trip checklist. I said I'd happily advise but I wouldn't own it without formal authority, and he actually agreed. Travel is drafting something, HR wants a 20-minute webinar, and, somehow, I will be the face on the slide reminding people that boots are fine, tube tops are not. There was one more piece I didn't expect. Late last night, Specialist texted me a long apology. She said she panicked when she missed the flight, that in turn told her the company always covers changes, and that she thought the mom call would make them take it seriously. She said she knows she messed up and that she didn't mean for me to get dragged into it. Then, at the very end, she mentioned the sponsor suite. We only used your name because everyone knows you, she wrote, and we really wanted the tote bags. I stared at that line for a long time. I didn't reply. This morning, compliance pinged me again to confirm times and attendees for the hotel bar Thursday because the sponsor log shows a drink tab opened under my company's name at 11:17 p.m. They weren't accusing me, they were chasing a data point. I sent my calendar invite and receipt from my agency dinner, signed at 10:41 p.m., and my keycard log from the hotel app showing I was back in my room by 10:58. It felt absurd to prove something so small, but I sent it anyway. 10 minutes later, the compliance person wrote, "All set, thanks." I took a breath for the first time all week. So, no big apology from the top. No grand mea culpa. Just a widening ring of adults stepping in to draw lines that should never have been fuzzy. And the weird knowledge that somewhere in this city, there's a manila folder with my name on it and a list authored by a mother who thinks I'm the villain in her daughter's first business trip. I shut my door, put my phone face down, and finally, got to the work I flew there to do in the first place. Update 3. I woke up Wednesday thinking we were finally moving into the policies and paperwork phase. At 9:03 a.m., procurement disabused me of that fantasy with a calendar ping and a subject line that might as well have been a siren: sponsor contact, urgent context. The vendor whose suite they'd wandered into had sent a polite but pointed note asking if our team needed assistance aligning communications, and included a photo of the guest list page from their clipboard. My name was written in the margin, then, underneath it, 2 new names in different handwriting with a little arrow and with my name scrawled beside them. They blurred the signatures before forwarding, which felt generous for how not generous the situation was. Procurement requested I join their call with the sponsor's account lead. He was gracious in a way that only someone who's seen every flavor of awkward can be. He told us they'd logged a visit Friday late morning, the badges matched the names, and the women introduced themselves as my junior associates and used my title in the panel to anchor the small talk. They didn't ask for anything but a tour of the product wall, and then they picked up 2 of the big tote bags and left. He emphasized they'd chalked it up to a misunderstanding and would prefer we not launch a process that made them look like bouncers. Then he paused and said, carefully, that one of the women took a selfie in front of their step and repeat and tagged our company. Their social team had removed the tag because it violated the sponsor's event guidelines. By noon, compliance was back in my inbox asking if they could record a quick screen share. This time they wanted my travel receipts, my hotel key log, again, and, new twist, my event badge access logs. The conference has RFID gates on the expo entrance, and registration can pull your swipes. The compliance analyst and I sat on Teams with the vendor email and the access report up side by side. I didn't badge in at all during the time they were in the suite. My panel ran long. I went straight from there to a coffee with a client. That's what we thought, she said, and thanked me for the documentation discipline. I muted and laughed for a second, because I've never felt more like a file folder. The internship side moved next. Early afternoon, the coordinator looped me and the director into a call with a dean from the intern's university. The dean opened by apologizing for the administrative inconvenience and asked for a neutral outline of the trip timeline. The coordinator handled it, straight from his notes. The dean didn't react much. When he did speak, it was to let us know the student had filed a claim with their Title IX office alleging body shaming by a supervisor. He added, almost as an aside, that because the intern posted company-branded content from a bar with the school's internship hashtag on Thursday night, Career Services had already frozen her internship credit pending review. They asked if we could preserve any images we had. HR said they were already doing that. The call ended with the dean saying, "We'll interface student to university going forward," which sounded like the academic version of "please stop letting her call you." Around 3, HR started pinging people for short statements about Friday logistics. At 4:17 p.m. my message preview lit with an all-staff note to our floor: "Please do not accept personal deliveries on behalf of other employees. All third-party packages must go through the dock." 10 minutes later, I heard the front desk door open and the receptionist's voice travel down the hall in that particular tone people use when they're smiling and also not negotiating. I didn't get up. 5 minutes after that, facilities messaged me that a certified letter had arrived addressed to me care of the company from specialist's mother. Legal had already picked it up and would respond if necessary. The note to me said, "For the third time in a week, please do not engage." At 5:02 p.m., specialist manager sent a simple calendar notice for a Thursday morning HR meeting. At 6:41 p.m., she emailed, "I won't be attending. Please accept this as my resignation effective immediately." The timestamp on the badge deactivation came through before the out of office. 15 minutes after, the director shared a redacted HR note reminding managers to collect equipment from departing employees via courier only. It was written blandly enough to be about anyone, which we all knew was the point. Thursday had the energy of a small dust storm. Travel rolled out the draft junior traveler expectations policy and asked me to sanity check the examples. It read like the world's driest choose your own adventure. Do you have a P card? No? Stop and call your manager. Yes? Stop and call your manager. If you miss a flight, do not upgrade your seat, change carriers, or buy anything retail. If you're at a themed reception, the theme is not more important than the fact that it is a reception. HR wanted a slide overlay to add to the deck, so a designer on my team mocked one up that says in corporate font, "On theme does not equal off-brand," and I hate how much I love it. The CMO briefly materialized in my office doorway at 10:30 wearing the universal "I've been in meetings since 7" expression and thanked me for helping with the policy in person. He asked, casually, if I would sit in on the first webinar and do the quick intro since people know your name now. I smiled in a way that I hope read as good-natured acceptance and not the feral grin of someone realizing her name is on a step and repeat she didn't stand in front of. He added that procurement would send a small gift to the sponsor with a note. The gift ended up being a coffee table book about our city with a clean, plain one-liner tucked inside. "Thank you for your partnership." At lunch, the internship coordinator walked by my table in the cafe and exhaled like he'd been holding his breath since Monday. The university had moved fast. The intern's credit was revoked, her access to our systems remained terminated, and the dean had sent a note to the coordinator thanking him for maintaining professional boundaries. He told me, almost sheepish, that he printed it. "For when I have to remind myself that even the weird weeks count as work," he said. I told him I might get it framed next to my new catchphrase about boots. Mid-afternoon, compliance circled back one last time with the travel agency's after-hours transcript from Friday night. The agent had told them, "We can assist if your manager authorizes a rebook." Specialist replied, "He's asleep and it's an emergency," and attached a picture of a cowboy boot instead of an approval. I asked if that was a joke. The analyst didn't laugh. "We've seen worse," she said, and closed the file. HR recorded the webinar on Friday. 10 of us on camera, 24 more off. They had me do the 30 seconds at the top. I said I was grateful people were giving up time to talk about something we should have codified ages ago. Then travel walked through the practicalities, HR did the culture piece, and legal did the part where everyone's eyes get big and the chat goes silent. At the end, the internship coordinator clicked to the last slide and there it was, a photo of a black blazer draped over a pair of dress boots next to a line that read, "Save the fringe for the weekend." I didn't write it. I'm crediting the universe. The only other surprise was a quiet one. Late in the day, the sponsor rep, the same one from the clipboard, sent me a short message, "All good on our side. See you at upcoming conference. If you want, we can co-write a how-to-conference blog post from the vendor side and the client side, make it useful for juniors. Might actually help." I told him I'd think about it. The idea of turning this whole circus into a neat list of bullet points felt a little too tidy for a week that will apparently live forever in a manila folder, but a small part of me liked the symmetry of setting something down that might keep someone else from inventing the same fire. I haven't heard from specialist again. The certified letter is somewhere in legal stack with a file number I'll probably never know. The intern's Snapchat story vanished the way those things do, but the consequences didn't. My phone is quiet. My calendar is full of normal meetings. I'm filming a 2-minute segment next week where I will say, on the record and with an HR-approved smile, that your boss is not your mom and your mom is not your boss. And that, I think, might actually be the end of it. Or at least the part where anyone expects me to fix it with a lift in 15. Update 4. I thought the webinar was the curtain call. Monday at 8:31 a.m., comms pinged me into a quick stand-up that was neither quick nor standing. Social listening had flagged a TikTok from an account that, if you knew what you were looking at, was the interns. The video was shot in a hotel hallway with our logo just soft focus enough in the background to be plausible deniability. The caption did the heavy lifting. Abandoned on a biz trip by an older coworker for not being on brand. It had 42,000 views and a duet from someone earnestly explaining workers' rights over a clip of my panel intro music. Legal joined the call like a late ad to a relay team and asked 2 questions. Was she naming the company and did they have permission to use the mark? No on the first, yes on the second, because trademark is a funny little lever. Comms filed a platform notice, and by lunch the video was unavailable due to a rights claim. I didn't cheer. I did close my door. At 1:19 p.m., Legal forwarded me a PDF that looked like it was printed at a public library and scanned back and upside down. Small claims. Plaintiff, specialist's mother, on behalf of specialist. Defendants, the company and me, personally. Claim, $1,847.36 for unauthorized travel charges plus emotional distress. Hearing date in 8 weeks. Counsel's note was one line, will appear. You don't. I stared at the figure and realized it was the exact number of the rebook plus an imaginary therapy bill multiplied by 2. Facilities messaged me at 2:03 p.m. to say a man with a lanyard had tried to serve papers to reception and was directed, per policy, to the registered agent address. I thanked them and went back to my brief like any of that was normal. It wasn't. Mid-afternoon, the sponsor, the Clipboard One, sent a follow-up that sounded almost conspiratorial. Could I join their young professionals breakfast at the next conference and do 5 minutes on how to move through a trade show like a person who works there? The irony of me becoming an etiquette Andy was not lost on anyone, least of all me. I said yes with the condition that I was not the cautionary tale, we would talk about the good version. He replied with a smiley I swear looked relieved. Tuesday morning, HR commandeered the big conference room and turned it into a tiny TV studio. They wanted a clean take of my 30 seconds for the training library. The script on the teleprompter was tight, almost kind. Your manager is your point of contact. Travel is a privilege and a responsibility. If you have a question, ask before it's a problem. I did 2 takes. The AV tech muttered nailed it into his sleeve, and I went back to my desk feeling like a refrigerator magnet people would point to when they forgot how to thaw chicken. Around 11, the internship coordinator looped me in with the university's Title IX investigator. He was clinical in a way that made me like him. He asked exactly what I'd said in the hallway on Thursday night. I repeated it, the same as I had a dozen times. I told her it was a work event, that she looked great but it wasn't appropriate for the setting, and she was welcome to come back in a jacket. He asked if I'd mentioned her body. I said no. He let the silence sit for a beat and said, thank you. That aligns with what we have. I didn't ask what they had. We both knew I didn't need to know. Lunch came and went. I ate at my desk and answered 2 emails about a media buy and one from travel with a draft checklist that now included, I am not making this up, a line about theme interpretation. The CMO forwarded me a hold notice from recruiting. The career fair at the interns university was requesting that our reps not include me in their booth rotation until the student matter is closed. It was the pettiest paper cut of the week, and also the only one that actually stung. I sent it to HR sent it to legal sent a polite acknowledgement back to the school's general counsel. Everyone CC'd everyone. No one wrote what we were all thinking, that having me hand out pens next to a banner was somehow a risk vector now. Late afternoon, accounting pinged with a curve I absolutely did not see coming. The P-card audit had widened, specialist charges flagged not just from Nashville, but from 2 months ago, boutique meals, a rideshare to a nail salon, a workwear purchase from a brand that sells sequins on purpose. The bank had reversed the Western wear charge as fraudulent when the merchant sent back the slip with a signature that looked less like a name and more like a country music autograph. The CFO apparently learned what chargeback means out loud in a meeting and then decided to stop talking for a while. I was looped only to confirm, again, that I had not instructed anyone to spend anything. I typed the same sentence I'd typed 6 times this week and watched it turn into a line item in someone else's spreadsheet. Wednesday blew in weird. A padded mailer arrived at reception addressed to me in block letters. Facilities did the X-ray shuffle, then asked if I wanted to pick it up or have it dropped in legal. I stood at the desk and opened it with the receptionist and a security guard watching like it might hiss. Inside was one of the sponsor's oversized tote bags and a sticky note with 2 words, circle back. No return address, no sender. We all looked at each other. I laughed, short, more air than sound, and then asked them to log it and send it to compliance. The guard nodded and said, gently, good tote though. I agreed and walked back upstairs with nothing in my hands. By late afternoon, the director asked if I'd grab 10 minutes. She closed her door and looked a little too tired to be performative. She told me specialist had withdrawn the complaint about me endangering her, but not the claim about expenses. She didn't elaborate, she didn't need to. She said she'd run point on any future junior travel out of her org until the policy was live. Then, Almost as an afterthought, she said she'd reached out to specialist privately to wish her well, and the reply she got back was, "My mom is handling correspondence." We both sat in that sentence until it stopped echoing. Thursday slid back toward normal. I met with creative about a Q3 campaign, approved a mood board that didn't have a single cowboy boot on it, and blocked time to draft the 3 minutes I'll do with the young professionals breakfast. Midday, my VP, fresh off medical leave, sporting a hospital bracelet tan line, stuck his head in my doorway and did the thing where he says "How are you?" and waits for an actual answer. I said, "I'm okay." He said, "Good. Because there's a rumor you're doing stand-up at conferences now." I told him I only do corporate material. He grinned, then got serious and said, "You handled it." It was not an apology, not a medal, just a sentence that landed like a weight taken off the right shelf. The week ended with a quiet call from procurement to the sponsor, ceasing me, confirming gift delivery and thanking them again for flexibility. The account lead replied with a smile and a thumbnail of their team holding our book. He added a postscript, "Our social guidelines now include, if you can't tell whether you are at a party or at work, you are at work." I closed my laptop on that line. I walked to the elevator. I said goodnight to the receptionist, who waved a pen at me like a baton. My phone stayed face down in my bag all the way home, where I opened my carry-on and, without thinking, slid my toiletries bag out and counted the bottles. 3 under 3 ounces. No fringe. No notes in anyone's handwriting but mine.